Gives Back initiative. They have a tough job, and a lot of times that job leaves them facing some of life's worst circumstances.
Yes. Well, today, Commander Melinda of the Chicago Police Department is with us. She's in town for the National Fraternal Order of Police Wellness Conference that she's speaking at in about 30 minutes. She is going to address the crowd regarding PTSD. Welcome in.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad we're talking about this. Let's start with your background in law enforcement.
So I've been with the Chicago Police Department for 25 years. I'm currently a commander, so I have my own patrol station that I'm in charge of. I've had many assignments over the years, from working undercover narcotics to doing legal work for the department. And so I've had a lot of experiences over the 25 years.
Wow, a whole lot of experience.
I love that picture.
Yes, there we see her working. Of course, as an officer, you see it all. Can you talk a little bit about how that trauma impacts not only your mind, but your physical health?
Yeah, so anytime you're exposed to trauma or experience a traumatic event, it affects your brain. And in fact, you can see the injury that it causes to your brain on brain scans. And if you keep experiencing more trauma, no matter how small, it's a cumulative effect that affects your brain. So physically, a lot of people will get symptoms of anxiety, sleeplessness, depression, ranging all the way to suicidal ideations as well. So, I like to point out that you think of PTSD or a traumatic event and it's something terrible that you've just experienced, like war or a police-involved shooting or a terrible accident. It could be a lot of little things over the years that just accumulates. In fact, there's an analogy I like, that we all have a backpack on our back, and every little bit of stress and trauma is a pebble that we throw in that backpack. And some of us, it's hard to release those pebbles and it gets too heavy. And I think that's with a lot of first responders.
Well, absolutely. I know that officers, I say, I don't know how you can deal with all of this stuff. And they say, well, I leave it at work. I don't take it home. But I don't imagine it's that easy.
It really isn't that easy. Because, we see the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
And we signed up for it, yes. But we didn't sign up to have to keep all of that trauma inside of us without treating it. And now that we could have this conversation, there are so many things out there that could help us be healthier. So when we do go home, we are leaving it behind. We're not, imposing that on our family or children.
Well, go ahead.
Well, I think one of the issues there is there's this stigma that they're afraid to speak about it. And I know we have to kind of break down those barriers and talk a little bit about that stigma and breaking it down, because they're worried about losing their job.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, and police, first responders, we're tough, right? We can handle anything. So it's hard to sometimes admit that maybe I'm suffering or maybe I shouldn't have to feel this way. And that's why I like to talk about it. And I was in the Army before, so I have a lot of friends that are also veterans. So I like to talk about it amongst both men and women, because it's not a weakness to admit that you've experienced a lot of stuff that the majority of people are never going to see, and it affects us. And, again, we have to erase that stigma so that we can be better.
Just love that you're sharing your story. You are paving the way. We got to talk about that treatment. Stella Mental Health has groundbreaking treatment. How exactly does it work?
Well, so Dr. Lipov has pioneered this shot once he realized that it helps with symptoms of PTSD. So it's called the stellate ganglion block shot. And it's a shot that basically goes into your neck. It's an anesthetic into the stellate ganglion cluster of nerves. And it resets your whole sympathetic nervous system fight or flight response. So those of us in law enforcement, we use our fight or flight response daily. We function with it working so high all the time, we become hypervigilant, and that's where you get that stress and anxiety. But they use the shot on active duty military, special forces, because it just resets you. It's Dr. Lipov always says, it's kind of like resetting your computer, turning it off and on and rebooting it. And it's a game changer, lifesaver.
Yeah, I know that you have used it not once but twice.
Yes.
And thank you so much for sharing your story.
Oh, sure.
Yes.
Thank you
for your service.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, everyone, read more about this treatment for PTSD. You can find it on their website. It's at stellamentalhealth.com.